I want to give you an update on my journey through this work because I experienced something pretty remarkable earlier this week. And even though usually I don't like to talk about myself that much, I like to focus on the theory and the concepts. I just don't feel like it would be right or authentic for me here to release an episode about some theory or concept and just ignore what happened to me earlier this week. And there are going to be lessons here that you can draw for yourself. And I think it can be illuminating to see myself also going along on the ride of this journey and not just preaching at you from the mountaintop, which sometimes people get that sense because I'm just preaching theory at you. And it sounds as though like I've got it all mastered. And that's not at all the case. I apply all the stuff that I talk about myself. And of course, I struggle to apply it too. I don't apply it effortlessly. So what happened with me earlier this week is that I became conscious of the ultimate nature of reality. And it felt like hitting rock bottom, as deep as it goes. Now, I've gotten glimpses of the ultimate nature of reality in the past, and it's interesting, because people think of the ultimate nature of reality as being this, okay, so it's just one thing. Okay, so you got it, and that's it, and you're done. But it's not like that. It's got many facets to it. It's got many layers to it, and it's such a gargantuan thing that you're realizing that it's difficult for the mind to understand it. And it's so gargantuan that you're not going to understand it in one go. One glimpse is not enough to understand it. So I was thinking about how to explain this, and the best metaphor I came up with is sort of like tasting honey. So imagine if I gave you a little spoonful of honey and I let you lick it just once. So just one little lick. That's what it feels like I had before. And after this week, it feels like I ate an entire jar of honey. So I've got a much better sense of what it is. And that's what I want to share with you here. So what actually happened is that, well, to set this up, is that over the last few weeks, before this happened, I was organizing, I went back through a lot of my notes. I started organizing my notes, especially about epistemology and a lot of kind of deep topics that I want to talk about in the book that I'm outlining. It's the very early phases of this book that I want to write. But I was organizing my thoughts for all this, creating outlines and just getting stuff clear in my own mind. And then I published those couple of episodes about understanding absolute infinity, part 1 and part 2, where I had to go through and actually think through how to explain everything. And so the interesting thing that happens is that as you think about how to explain these things to other people, or maybe just to yourself, or you're taking notes on this, it clarifies things in your mind. And for me, what it did is not only did it just clarify things for me conceptually, but it allows the mind then, when it does have direct consciousness experiences, mystical experiences in the future, is that it allows the mind to easily interconnect the dots and then to understand what it experiences. Because I think that a lot of people might experience absolute infinity or something like that, or no self, but then they don't know what the hell it was, and it just feels like some very foreign, alien, weird thing. And then when they come back to ordinary consciousness, it's like, well, yeah, that happened, but it almost feels like a long forgotten dream. And then they just forget about it and they go on with their life. They don't realize the significance of what they saw because they couldn't really make sense of it. So what happened with me here is that these things got set up, not intentionally, just kind of accidentally. It just happened because I was working on this. And then I took 225 milligrams of ALAD, not milligrams, micrograms. 225 micrograms of ALAD, which is an analog of LSD, a milder form of LSD. And this is a really magical substance. I've published trip reports about it in the past, so I'm not going to go into a lot of depth here about what that is. You can go look that up. But basically what it does is it takes your contemplation and your self-inquiry on overdrive, and it multiplies it by 1,000 really quickly. And this came on within 30 minutes, and it was a really deep trip. But it wasn't just like a trip where I was lying on the floor tripping. It was contemplation, really. I was sitting on my couch the whole time with my eyes open. I didn't move anywhere because I knew that I was gonna use this moment here, this heightened awareness, to do my contemplating. That's usually how I trip these days. And so as I was sitting there very effortlessly, I passed through all the traditional boundaries that keep us in ordinary consciousness. So the boundary of insanity, the boundary of death, the boundary of existence and non-existence. All these boundaries I quickly broke through within 10 minutes. And then what happened was that I entered the Godhead. What is the Godhead? The Godhead is like the heart of God, you might say. It's the heart of absolute infinity. It feels like this infinite cosmic chain reaction, which has been going on forever. It's eternal, and its scope is unimaginable in size. It's beyond all measures of size. It feels like you're entering into the middle of the sun, and you're just going deeper and deeper, and it gets denser and denser and denser, and it's just this denseness of infinity. You're going inside this singularity, deeper and deeper and deeper. Maybe you might think of it as going inside a black hole, but it doesn't feel dark. It actually feels light. And so maybe you could think of it as a white hole. So I'm going into this thing, and in there are contained all the possibilities of reality. This is like the heart of reality. This is, if you think of the sun, you think inside the sun there's the dense core where all the fusion and fission is happening. But then stuff arises from that, and then at the very surface of the sun, what you have is these sort of solar flares and these arcs, where this energy kind of arcs up, this plasma arcs up from the surface. It comes out, it can go quite a long way, and then it comes back in, it sort of loops back in, and then it re-merges with the surface of the sun again. So if you want to think of this experience right here that I'm having, or that you're having as an individual self right now, if you just become a little conscious of what's happening right now, this experience is one of those arcs shooting out from the sun. And so it feels like it's a sort of separate thing, and it's got a certain form, and it's got a certain shape to it, and you don't understand how it could possibly fit in with the singularity. But then when you re-emerge, when you loop back in, and then you go all the way inside, that flare, the particles in that flare, you could just kind of imagine that they circulate all through there. That's sort of what happens, that you start to now go inwards, whereas normally you're sort of oriented outwards as this flare. So I'm going inwards, and I'm going deeper and deeper and deeper.